So first thing is, how's your training been? And what's your current setup like for those who are curious about that?
Yeah, the last month's just been life has been super fast paced. Beginning of July, we went on a family vacation. The week prior to that, just getting organized, to leave. I trained, but it wasn't all that great. And then the week of vacation, we were on a cruise boat. So I got a couple of training sessions in, but it's not the same. So I was just getting enough done there. And then the week coming back, I was overloaded with work. So I had to catch up with that. So training again wasn't the greatest. Then it was the week of the mayhem, and I was super busy preparing athletes. And the month of July, let's just say, it was like, let's just do enough to keep things afloat. It wasn't the greatest training. And I usually don't let myself get too down when I have months or weeks or like that. It's just as long as I'm getting in at least two or three in a week, things aren't going anywhere, keeps me afloat. And then once life kind of settles down a little bit, which it finally is this week, I can get after it again. But prior to that, this whole year, in a sense, is kind of learning a new body in a sense, because I had an injury in February. I had a disc bulge, and so that kind of put me out a little bit. I was still training through it, but I learned because I got an X-ray of my spine. I kind of learned like, okay, my spine L5S1 it's not really aligned perfectly anymore. So there's some changes there. So like it explains why like RDLs and things like that have been feeling kind of off the last year or so. I couldn't find a groove. Me getting back, a few years ago, I was like doing 405 regularly on RDLs. It's like since then though, it's just been kind of hit or miss trying to find some grooves and couldn't figure out why, but now I know. So I've had to learn how to modify some of my movement patterns, as far as like the hinging, just to make it where I can do it pain-free, safely, and I can still get to task failure, so I can get some good stimulus. So it's just been kind of I don't know, you get older and you have to learn how to keep training, and I want to train on a high level. So it's just learning how to navigate, with this little bit older body. But I'm doing okay. Muscle is still there. And, when you see yourself all the time, am I improving, not improving? Do I still have the same size? When I went to the Muscle Mayhem, just walking around, being next to all the other bodybuilders, taking pictures, I'm like, okay, I still got my size. It's not going anywhere. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself because I know I'm older, not as pliable. The likelihood of me picking up more tissue probably not there. I'm still training as if I'm trying, but I'm really trying to hold myself back more than I've ever been because I know it doesn't take as much to maintain the physique. And this past month is good validation that I don't have to really go crazy with my training anymore. My physique isn't going anywhere.
I can't remember who I was talking to this about, but the idea of as you're getting older and you're, let's say, 50s, 60s, 70s, changing the mindset where the progression is how much muscle can I keep at this point, like versus
Mm.
gaining, right? Like if you didn't lose or if your physique is looking similar as it did to the year prior, man, that could be the progression all by itself once you get to that, the 60-year-old mark, 70-year-old
Yeah.
mark, right? Now you're
Well,
still young, you're not there yet, but
I'm not
just
old, but yeah, I'm north of 50, so it's not like I'm a spring chicken anymore. It's a mentality shift because, most bodybuilders have the mentality like, let's get after it. I want to make those gains. And when you're older, it's almost like you want to get after it more because you don't want to lose anything. But at the same
mm,
time, I understand like I don't have to do that because I know it doesn't take as much to hold on to what I have. So it's more of a hard to hold yourself back. And I think from a longevity perspective, sometimes we always think like, okay, we got to foam roll, we got to stretch all these things for longevity. It's more like it starts with the mind, accepting the fact that you don't have a 30-year-old body anymore. You're working with a much older body and you just have to learn how to pace things. I still use HIIT. This week I've been doing HIIT. I
mm.
did like today on tap, I have leg press. I think I'm going to do a pull down and laterals. That's what I have today. Just three movements.
Okay.
But I'm gonna do two sets. They're all going to be to failure with the exception of leg press. Probably go until I can barely complete one rep, the last rep. I won't push it past that, but still going to push it, but it's just lower volumes.
That's interesting because you were to rewind, you said how obviously it's been kind of chaotic for you the last months or weeks, especially with the mayhem and everything. And you're happy getting in two, three sessions a week. Like that's a win. Do you tend to shift your or change your programming around in these cases? Like that sounds like a full body workout.
I auto regulate it. I can't recall, like, I think the week I was on the cruise, the day we were getting on the boat, I found this gym near the hotel. I'm like, I'm gonna go there and train. But things got too fast paced. I'm like, okay, I don't have time for that. So in the hotel room, I did push-ups. I did like a wide grip push-up, a narrow grip. So that way I'm getting my shoulders and triceps, involved, getting my chest hit. And then I did curls with my suitcase. I call them bellhop curls. I'm like, okay, let me put a title to this.
I saw
Bellhop
that.
curls with the
Yeah.
suitcase.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, there we go. Chest and arms is done. Then on the cruise ship, I got a leg session in, leg extensions, leg curls. I think I did hyperextension and some calf raises. The next session I did back and shoulders. Once per week, I touched everything. Okay, nothing's going to go anywhere. I touched it, took it to task failure. Following week, I can't remember what I did, but it was probably something different. And then the week of the mayhem, I ended up doing, I think it was just 2 sessions that week. I might have did an upper session and then I did a full body.
That was my question, basically, or where I was trying to go with my question was, as long as you touch everything once per week, you're satisfied.
Yeah, because I mean, it takes 3 to 5 weeks with no training whatsoever to see atrophy. So even if I'm touching it once every 7 days, once every 10 days, muscle ain't going to go anywhere, and especially if it's intense enough. You're matching relatively the same types of volumes you normally do per session with the same type of intensity. Like if it's similar, things aren't going to go anywhere. We probably talked about this before. The time that I really knew what atrophy was is when I couldn't train for 4 months. Then it was like, ooh, yeah, okay, now this is what real muscle looks like, real muscle loss looks like.
So what influences when you slide in the hit stuff? Is it related to if you know you're not going to hit or not be able to train for an extended period of time? Does it have to do more with energy, a combination? Like
Yeah,
what?
all the above. So if I don't have a lot of time, I'm like, okay, let me just go lower sets, more intensity. If I don't feel like pushing hard, because there's days where I'm like, yeah, I just don't feel like really getting after it like that, then, I'm going to back off a little bit, maybe add a set or two. It's been super hot here where I live, like extremely hot, and I don't have air conditioning in my gym. So it's like, okay, these are hit sessions because I'm going to get in and get out. I don't want to be out in the garage for an hour, hour and a half. I'm just going to get in there and try to do it in 30 to 45 minutes. I'm not suffering in the heat. Plus stamina too. Like I noticed like the longer I go in that heat, man, I'm just like, ugh, getting really bogged down and I don't really want to push myself any longer. I'm like, I just need to get in and get out. So it just depends on how I'm feeling, the environment, those types of things. So it's again, when I look at the camps again, high intensity camps, the high volume camps, it's like it could be a blend of all those things depending on the context at hand or your constraints.
You're enjoying your training though now? You're getting back in the groove, right?
I wasn't enjoying my training last month because it's just everything is just so fast paced. I felt like I was always rushing, and I don't like to train when I feel rushed. So this week things are starting to die down. I'm getting back into my normal life routine. So training is starting to feel a little bit better. Next week I'll probably go back to my regular upper lower split. It's going to be looking more like 3 sets of exercise, things like that, instead of just, going hit the entire time.
Because you can up the frequency now and there's
I can
more.
up the
Yeah.
frequency. There's not gonna be as much stress. I don't have as much going on outside of the gym. I can be in the gym a little bit longer as long as the weather holds up. If it's, 90, 95 degrees, I can tolerate that. But when we're talking 105, 110 degrees, and my gym usually runs about 8 to 10 degrees cooler than what it is outside. So it gets super hot in there.
What are your top 3 high intensity training techniques? Or maybe with your athletes that you found are productive with certain athletes, maybe some examples there or
These are the 3 things I think you should always do.